So today we are going to talk about the difference between the count rows versus the distinct count. Count rows will count the total number of rows in the table, whereas distinct count will count the distinct or the unique values within the column. So let us do this practically with Power BI. So rather than importing this Excel, what I will do is I will load the data. So I'll just copy this particular table, go to Power BI, and within Power BI I just need to drag this table visual, and once I do this, these three dots will be enabled. So within this home ribbon I will click on these three dots and I will click on enter data. Then I just need to paste the table which I have copied. So I have copied this table, and then the next thing that I can do is, but before I do the next thing, I need to put a name. So let us call this table as transactions, and then we will load the data. So once the data is loaded, you can go to this table view and see the data which you have loaded, and we can see the data is there. Now let's say I want to, so the next thing that I will do is I will just copy these columns in the table visual, and this is how it should look. Now the next thing that I need is I need to create a new measure. So for that I will go to modeling and create the new measure. So I'll click on this icon. Let's say firstly I want to count the total number of transactions in the table. So I will say this measure as total transactions, and the measure that I am going to use is count rows. So I will select this count rows function. Then I need to give the input of the table. So the table is transactions as we had earlier defined, and if I enter, this new measure has been created. Now in order to see the output of this measure, what I will do is quickly drag this card visual, and within this card visual I just need to select this newly created measure. I will select this and let us see the output. So the total transaction is 6. Okay, so as you can see, the output shows the total number of rows are 6, which is correct. Now similarly we need to create another measure, that is for a distinct count. Let's say I want to know the distinct customer IDs in this table. So again what I will do is I will go to this modeling tab, click on this measure icon, and then I will say distinct customers. Okay, so I'll say distinct customers, and then what I need is the distinct count measure. So I'll say distinct count, and then what I need is the column. So as I said, we want distinct customer, so I'll select customer ID. Okay, I'll select this, close the bracket and hit the enter button. Now this should give me the distinct count of customer. So let us see how this goes. So all I need to do is select this distinct count, distinct customer measures. I'll select this. So as we can see, this is counting total 4 distinct customer IDs, 1, 2, 3, and this blank is also counted. That means there are total 4 distinct customer IDs. Now let us say within this same measure, I want to count the total number of transactions in the table, but only for the 2nd January. For that, what I need to do is I need to make use of the calculate function. Okay, because once I make use of the calculate function, I'll be able to filter the data. So I'll say calculate, and then I need the expression. The expression remains same, that is count rows. So I'll say count rows, and then what I need is a table. So I'll say transactions. So that is done. Now the next thing that I need is filter. So I'll be filtering on the basis of the transaction date column in the table. So I'll say transaction per date is equal to, and then I'll make use of the date function. Within the date function I need to say that the year is 2026, comma, the month is January, right? So this is 1 and date is 2. I will close the bracket, and as we can see, once I hit the enter button, I am getting the count as 3. There are only 3 rows for 2nd January. We can see these 3 rows including this blank one. Okay, so similarly, let's say I want to filter the data for the customer ID for 1st January. What I will do is I'll again make use of the calculate function. My expression remains same, that is distinct count. Okay, so distinct count and distinct count for customer IDs. So there is no change in this, but the next thing that we need is filter. So I'll be filtering on the basis of transaction date. So I'll say tx and date is equal to, and is equal to, I need the date function. Within the date function I need to say 2026. Let's say the month is 1 and the date is also 1 because I want to filter the data for 1st of January. And then I'll hit the enter button and see the output, which is 3. Okay, for the 1st January there are 3 records. So this is how we make use of the distinct count as well as the count rows function. Count rows will count the total number of rows within the table, whereas distinct count will count the total number of values in a column of any specific table. Okay, and it will count the blanks as well. So this is the difference between the count rows and distinct values. Thank you so much for watching this.